In this training, I'm going to be showing you how to take a webinar video and turn it into an ebook. First thing you'll want to do is simply go to the YouTube page with the video. I would typically recommend to make it full screen if you are able to work with it this way, at least. The main thing that's really important is that you want to actually make sure you are set on 1080p HD. This way the picture you end up getting will be as crisp as possible. Now for the ebook creation part of it, I have this template set up. What you'll want to do is use this same template for each of the ebooks. So I would recommend to copy it and paste it so you get a completely new one, and then just replace the word template with the class number. So this will be class number 1, and then I'm going to open this up so I can edit it. Now, to edit this file here, you're going to need OpenOffice. If you don't already have it, you can get it at openoffice.org, and it is completely free. It's basically just like Microsoft Office, except it is an open source version of it. So I use this to create all of my ebooks. Initially, this beginning portion of it can all stay the same on every single ebook that is done throughout this entire series. Down below here, you would simply want to change the guidebook number to the appropriate number. This would be relating to the class number up here, and then the title of this particular class will go down below. Now for this first class, I already have this set. This is City and Niche Research. So I actually do not need to do anything here, but on future guidebooks, this will need to be set to whatever the title is going to be for that particular class. A little further down, this can all stay the same, login information. We then have the table of contents. There are currently 5 chapters that I have set up in this book. I already have titles here, but these are all going to need to be changed. However, I don't start here in the table of contents. I come back to this basically once I am done with the entire book, so I know what I need to be putting here. So what I really do is I go down into the first chapter. As you can see, strategy overview right here relates to strategy overview up at the top. And then I have a first word of text already here. This allows you to simply start typing over this particular area and still have the same formatting, so you don't have to worry about changing the formatting, because obviously the title of that chapter has different formatting from the body of that chapter. So I have a chapter here set up for each of the chapters that are in the table of contents. The very last chapter has this next ASON Masterclass section down at the bottom, where I just give a brief description of what's going to be coming up in the next class. And this should be something that you'll find basically towards the end of the video. Now the very last, technically the last chapter, is the class checklist. For now, this can just be left alone as with the class notes section. The main thing that really needs to be focused on are just the actual chapters themselves. So what I'm going to do is begin by playing my video over here, and I simply want to transcribe it as I go through the video. While I'm transcribing it though, I want to try to keep an ear out for a couple of particular things. Number one, if you notice a major shift in the topic that is being discussed, it may possibly be time to begin a new chapter. However, you could simply go through and transcribe the entire video all in one chapter and then go back through and say, okay, now how can I break this up into 4 or 5 different sections or something like that that each pertain to a particular topic. So it'll kind of just depend on what works best for you really as far as how you want to go about splitting all that up. Because if need be, you could take a long, series of paragraphs of text here and, let's say starting here, you thought this would be a good place to start another chapter. You just select all of the text that you have transcribed that you think will go with that chapter and select it and cut it. And then you could just go down into the second chapter and paste it in. So then you begin here, and then you could simply set a title for it. Now, the titles that are going to be set for the chapters, at least for now, just see what you can do as far as trying to come up with a just basic title yourself as far as something that will simply describe what is being talked about. Now, I believe in the beginning here I actually am doing a strategy overview to start with. So the first chapter would remain strategy overview. And then down here I would simply have all the text that is going to be part of the video that relates to the strategy overview. And then once I stop with the overview and get into talking about another topic, I believe the next topic is going to be something like city selection. Simple titles like that work just fine. They don't have to be anything, overly creative or complex or anything of that nature. So, just try to come up with your own. I will be going back through this file that you create before this all actually gets published. So, I'll do a final editing run on it basically. So, watch the video and simply try to transcribe it. Now, if you could type fast enough, you might just be able to sit there and type along with the video. Chances are, though, you might need to play 10 seconds or something of it at a time and go over and write it into the file and so on and so forth. But as you're doing that, keep an eye on what's going on the actual video itself. And when I'm talking about something that I'm actually doing that somebody might need to see happening, I also then want to take a screenshot of it, and I want to include that screenshot in the ebook. So I'm just going to go through a little bit of this here to kind of show you what I am talking about. So I'm just going to go ahead and play this. I'm not sure if the actual audio of this is going to end up on your on this actual recording or not, but here goes. Welcome to the first class in Azon Masterclass 3. So I start out by saying, welcome to the first class in Azon Masterclass 3. This new training series is going to teach you how to take some of the tactics that you... This new training series is going to teach you how to take some of the tactics and AMC2 that you learned in AMC1 and AMC2. Now I've skipped through just a little bit more of this. Just to point out something, every now and again you will run across some extra nonsense words that ultimately aren't needed in the video. At this particular point, I might say things like now, or I really don't use and all that much. You may still find an occasional one or two here and there. Unnecessary words like that obviously do not need to be transcribed into the final ebook. One example right here, I don't know if you can hear this again or not. I'll repeat it when it says it though. Now, the kind of website that we are going to be making here. It starts out by saying, now the kind of website we're going to be making here. I don't necessarily need to include like that extra word now. I could just say the kind of website we are going to be making here. Is a local-based website. We're going to base this on is a local-based website. We're going to kind of cut it off in mid-sentence. So you can see, you know, the transcribing should be fairly simple. You know, as you're going through, you definitely, you know, do not want to have everything grouped all into a single paragraph. And when you do split your paragraphs apart, just make sure to put a blank line so the paragraphs are actually spaced out. It just makes it a little easier to read and, you know, separates thoughts essentially into separate paragraphs. I try not to make any paragraph more than 2 or 3 sentences long if I can help it. And usually if I'm getting into 4 or 5 lines worth of text in this file for a single paragraph, then I'll start looking for the end of a sentence so I can start up a new paragraph. So obviously on top of the transcribing, you're essentially trying to do some, you know, minor formatting here just so it turns into then an ebook that is, you know, easy to go through and read. So the other main thing that needs to be done in addition to the transcribing and setting up the separate chapters and things of that nature is the screenshots. Now, I use a program called Snipping Tool. On multiple computers that I have used, anything that's using Windows 7 or even Windows 8 has this snipping tool program built in, and there may even be some earlier versions of Windows than that include it. All you have to do with this thing is just click on New, and then you select whatever area it is that you are wanting to show. So let's say I wanted to show just a little preview maybe of this website here. I could just select a portion of it, whatever I want to display, and then this comes up here in the screenshot program. Now, a complicated way and a time-consuming way of going about it is to actually save these images to your computer and then to go in to this thing and go up to Insert and go to Picture and go to From File and import the picture in there. However, one thing that I have found is immediately after you have created this screenshot here, if you simply go over to the file wherever you want to paste it at, make a couple of blank lines and position where you want the image to go right in the middle of a couple of blank lines, and then just paste. You can right click and paste, or you can press Control and V on your keyboard to paste it in, and it actually will paste that screenshot in for you. So you basically need to look at the video and try to determine where in the video would be something that the person would need to see, and then where in the transcription would that picture go along with it. So as I'm talking about the kind of site that I'm going to be making, and I go on here to talk about it in more specifics, somewhere along in here would probably be a good place to drop the image. Wherever you end up positioning the image, just try to make sure that there is a little bit of space in between the image and the surrounding text. You don't necessarily want it to be sitting right up on top of it like this. You would, want a little bit of space in between. This just helps, again, with readability. Now, some images that you try to put in, let's say I go over, well, I guess I can't, that's a video, not an actual website. Let's say I just want to show this small part of it here. Maybe I'm talking about building this menu section, which is something I will be talking about in a future class. And maybe I just want to show a little screenshot of what this is going to look like. Again, I take the snipping tool and I select around what I want to take the screenshot of. Then I come over in here and let's say, I wanted to put it in the middle of the text right here. I simply paste it in, and as you can see, it'll kind of hover it in between. So your larger images may end up taking up all of the available space. I try to keep the screenshots fairly small. I would never recommend doing more than half of the area of this total website here. Any more than that, and the images end up taking up too much space in the total ebook. Now, you will have some circumstances where maybe you have some text like this, and maybe the image that is going after it is a larger image like this, and as you can see, it ends up leaving all of this white space right here. I do typically try to avoid leaving too much white space right here, but you can't just delete this white space. The only way you can actually get rid of it is by rearranging where the picture is located within the text. So I would basically want to try to see if there was more text that I could have after this before the picture actually gets displayed. Or maybe there's a little bit of extra white space up in here that isn't necessary, and I could possibly remove a couple of lines of it. Again, I will still want to leave enough space to where it looks decent. I don't want things crammed in. But as you can see, that still did not make enough room to allow this image to show up here. So my best bet would be to look for more text that was down below the image, and hopefully that would still work out okay if I included that text up in here and simply had the image below it. So I may just simply take the image and drag it down. If you just drag it down into different paragraphs of text, you can change where it is situated at in relation to all the text that you have on the page. Now obviously this little menu thing right here is not actually going to go there. So I'll get rid of things here that basically don't belong. I'll still leave a little bit of text here for the next chapter, so all the formatting will be correct. So I would now continue on with transcribing the video. I think I missed a couple of words in there.
The website that we are going to be making here is a local-based website. We're going to base this on one particular city or possibly a small collection of cities within a particular state. But not only that, we're going to then break down that targeting even more and assign a very specific niche to it. I have a dog park and dog beach site for Los Angeles, California.
See right here,
Now this is a site
at around a minute or so into the video, I actually start verbally making reference to what is on my screen. I say here is, this website for Los Angeles. So that would be a good point to actually include this image. So there would be more text that would probably end up going before the image here. And then I show the image, so somebody that is going through the book and not actually watching the video could still get the basic idea of what I'm showing in the video and what they would need to be doing. So you just kind of want to turn the ebook into a complete guide that could be used without the video. So anything relevant that I'm talking about or that I'm showing them or something of that nature that goes along with the training, those types of things are the kind of things you would want to try to pay attention to and take a screenshot of it and then plop it into the relevant place within the text. So I'll just remove that sentence there. So you can kind of start the video and see this text going through, and once you get up to this particular sentence here, then just start your transcription from that point on. And then whenever I start making reference to this page that is showing on my screen, then that is where you would want to leave this image at. So keep your transcription going, leave the image when I start making reference to it, have a paragraph of text where I'm talking about this maybe right up above it, then show the image, and then continue on down below it with transcription of, more of the class. And then once I stop talking about the whole overview of the strategy and I go into talking about city selection, then you would come down here and start transcribing information for that chapter. And you would simply change the title to city selection now with, since that's what the next chapter is actually going to be about. And then going on beyond city selection, I believe then I go into talking about niche selection, and it's possible, depending on how much content you really have in niche selection and city selection, they may be able to be broken apart into two separate chapters on city selection. And if that was the case, just get a little more specific with what the title is about. Sometimes you might just do city selection, research city population or something like that. It just kind of depends, and it doesn't have to be done, perfect the first time. Mainly worry about getting the transcriptions done and trying to keep everything looking decent as far as spacing everything out and putting in relevant screenshots. The rest of the stuff is pretty easy to go back in and edit. Now, there is going to be a little bit more stuff in terms of creating the actual ebook. But honestly, if you could just focus on getting these chapters set up, that would be a good start. And we could always go from there once you get comfortable with that portion of it. Then we could continue on and I could show you a little more of the fine-tuning parts of the ebook creation process if you would like to learn and help out with some more of that. But the transcription and splitting apart into the chapters and doing all the screenshots and placing them in the relevant places should be a halfway decent amount of work for each video, and obviously will take a major load off of my hands as well. So feel free to let me know if you have any questions, and thanks again.